A.D. Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Well, I got it.
I got it.
Of course I got it.
I got it right after work.
That's right. I got the COVID-19 vaccine.
Because self-care.
I got it because I wanted to get back to my normal.
I was one of the first ones that got it. And now, I'm helping others get theirs.
So let's get it together. Sign up and get your vaccine today, and let's stop COVID in its tracks. Visit IGotItMS.com.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
It's Pink Friday 2021, and here's a message from one of our survivors.
Hello, I'm Robin Roberts, and I am happy to join the American Cancer Society in the fight against breast cancer. As a breast cancer survivor and proud Mississippi native, I'm honored to support Pink Friday, a fundraiser for breast cancer awareness. We all have a part to play in this fight, and by working together, one day we are determined to find a cure for breast cancer. Get your tickets now to support this wonderful event.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
For 200 years, Montgomery, Alabama has been making history by people who had the courage to stand up for change. Today, this riverfront city has been reborn, embracing the past and looking forward to the future. From the National Memorial for Peace and Justice to the stage of the Alabama Shakespeare Festival, this is where history was and is made. We are proud to call Montgomery home, and together we can be the change.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Well, I got it.
I got it.
Of course I got it.
I got it right after work.
That's right. I got the COVID-19 vaccine.
Because self-care.
I got it because I wanted to get back to my normal.
I was one of the first ones that got it. And now, I'm helping others get theirs.
So let's get it together. Sign up and get your vaccine today, and let's stop COVID in its tracks. Visit IGotItMS.com.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the Pregame with your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready because we pregame harder than the other show's part. It's the Pregame.
And welcome into the pregame show here on the Black College Sports Network. It is an MLK edition. Today, our Jackson State Tigers are taking on the Texas Southern Tigers live from the Lee E. Williams Athletics and Assembly Center. My partner, Neely, holding things down in Jackson, Mississippi.
Hey, man, boots on the ground, whether it's football, baseball, soccer, bowling, badminton, archery, boots on the ground, man. We're here at the AAC 3 p.m. kickoff. Killing me saying kickoff. Tip-off for the Lady Tigers. 5 p.m. tip-off for the Tigers. We got, as you called it Saturday, Chuck, the Texas two-step. Now we got Texas Southern in the AAC. If you're in the Metro Jackson area, clear skies. It's sunny out there. The Hawk is out a little bit, but it's not too late to get here. Tickets available. You can also watch the game on the JSU Sports Network when it gets ready to tip off. But come on down to the AAC. We got Texas Southern against the Lady Tigers here at the AAC at 3 p.m.
Yeah, I tell you what, Neely, first leg of the Texas two-step with Prairie View on Saturday night. Our women's and men's teams took care of business. Great job against the Prairie View and Panthers. Both programs, solid programs, but we got it done on the women's and men's side.
Yeah, interesting enough, we talked to Coach Reed after the Lady Tigers game, and I brought out to her, I said, hey, now 4-0 in the SWAC, but interesting dynamic, Coach Reed. You were down for the first time in the first quarter. And she says, we were down in the first quarter? She said, had I known that, I'd have went smack off. She told me, she said she doesn't coach the scoreboard. Because I asked her, I said, how do you keep this team to engage when you have a 25, 30-point lead? And she said, I don't coach the scoreboard. I coach the game. So when I see something needs coaching, I step in. She said, so I'm shocked to hear that we were down in the first quarter. I didn't realize that. So they played with intensity. It was a tight game in the first quarter. It started to spread early in the second quarter. I think they went into halftime with a 20-point lead. And then the bench, the reserves, the freshmen came in the fourth quarter and added to that lead.
Yeah, you mentioned the bench, the reserve, 31 points off the bench in Saturday's game against Prairie View. Of course, they were led by Deja Rogan, 21 points on 9 of 17 shooting. And then, check this out, Nelly, defensive pressure. She had 6 steals as well.
And, Chuck, I harp on this because Coach Reed harps on it. One thing that we have to do a better job at, since we're coaching the game and not the scoreboard, is converting those turnovers into points. Tigers leave a lot of missed layups out there, leave a lot of free throws out there. So still some things that Coach Reed wants to clean up. But from tip to closing buzzer, dominant performance by the Lady Tigers as they now get ready for this Texas Southern game this early afternoon on MLK Day.
No doubt about it. And we talk about it with this women's team. There are data points, if you will, to take a look at. You mentioned they missed a lot of layups, but points off turnovers, 34 points off turnovers. But again, it's the rebounding and the points in the paint. Our ladies had 42 points in the paint. They really took advantage of that size advantage that they had over Prairie View in the game.
Yeah, we're long, man. Just we're long. We're long and athletic, and we have size up and down the floor. There's a drop off in height. And when you get to those guard positions, but, Deja Rogan, she plays big. But the ball is going to flow through Amisha. The game is going to flow through Amisha. If she's getting double-digit rebounds anywhere close to 20, but just as long as it's north of 12, we got a chance to make a dominant performance because it gives those guards and the wings the confidence to shoot because we're rebounding well, offensive and defensively, and up top that guard pressure, getting those turnovers and points off turnovers. Still a little lapses at the free throw line where we don't capitalize in the high percentages that we should, particularly the individual percentages. You'll see a player go to the line that's shooting 85%, but they miss both or miss one. So still not keeping up with the season has. But one thing we got going for us, Chuck, particularly with the pregame show, now with 4 games in, as you put it, we got those data points. We're not just relying on December and November, what the averages were. Now we're 4 games into the SWAC. We really can see what this team is about and what these individual players are about as far as the expectation of them game to game.
Yeah, you talk about the expectation of them game to game data points. Amisha Williams-Holiday is a double-double machine against Prairie View, 15 points, 13 rebounds. But it's always that extra scorer that you kind of take a look at with this Jackson State women's team, whether it's Jariah Covington. But Deja Woodard in this Prairie View game, 12 points, 7 rebounds.
Yeah, she played a phenomenal game. Up and down the floor. There was a couple times, Chuck, I thought she was going to dunk the ball on one of those putbacks. She was right up. She was right up there at the rim. And I was like, man, what was that about to be a yoke? But she's exceeding her numbers. And I tell you what I was impressed with. We talk about those reserves coming in to get that experience late in the game. There was no drop off. And, to see freshmen like Ramsey, who's from Madison Central, getting that playing time, and you could just see the energy in her legs and the basketball IQ, that the future is bright for the Lady Tigers. We're focused on the right now, but when you see those reserves come in, you can tell this team not only has a talented 1 through, say, 6 or 7, but we've got a talented 7 through 11 that's sitting that could come in at any minute, particularly when you're dealing with a season that could be impacted by COVID at a moment's notice. And if you got 7 players, you got to play. The Lady Tigers have any 7 that can play.
And I think that's the thing that jumps out with this Lady Tigers basketball team. They are deep from 1 through 12. You take a look at the minutes that were played. Jariah Covington, 18 minutes. Teelan Bowler, she played 19 minutes. LaMiracle Sims, 19 minutes. And then you have Ariana Hunter, Aaliyah Mosley, Alexis Roberts, you mentioned Kennedy Ransom. They all played over 5 minutes of actual game time. But to where you can go from 1 to 12 at any point in time. And like you mentioned, COVID being what it is, to know that you don't have a drop-off in production, that's a huge feather in the cap for this Jackson State women's basketball team.
Yeah, this team is doing all it can to stay safe and to stay healthy, and we're encouraging fans. Fans are here with their mask on. I'm up here isolated. But when you look around, Chuck, at any given week, any given game, we could be impacted by this pandemic. And so, one, you got to take care of the games that you can take care of because you don't know what next week's going to bring. Just the law of averages, somebody's going to miss a game or two. Right here this past weekend, we had a head coach from the other team that was out. So it happens. But to have that confidence of depth that you got people on the bench that can come in and play just as well, and in some instances better situationally than the starters, got to be great confidence for this coaching staff and for the rest of the team.
Tremendous confidence for this coaching staff as well as the team. We turn the page now from Saturday to Monday. We take on this tough, formidable Texas Southern Tigers basketball team. They come in 3-2 in conference play. Jackson State has a current 4-game win streak over this Texas Southern Tiger basketball team. When you talk about Texas Southern Lady Tigers, prior to the Tamika Reed reign here in the SWAC, the Texas Southern Lady Tigers were that team to really go out and beat.
Well, teams take on the personality of their coaches. And Cynthia Cooper, a legendary basketball player, Hall of Famer basketball player, she always has that team ready to bring it. Coach Reed has been able to get the best of her, but historically, Cynthia Cooper, Coach Cooper has had that team ready to play. And Jackson State Lady Tigers have a target on their back. The two-time defending SWAC champions. You got to know Cooper's coming in here tonight and going to try to bring it and exert some dominance. She is energetic on the sideline. She is loud on the sideline. She is Cynthia Cooper, so you can expect her having that team to play dog tough tonight. I think the Lady Tigers are up for it, but there are certainly going to be some players to watch and some things we have to key in on, such as getting that early dominance. Don't want to start off slow. Coach Reed talks about that, not starting off slow in the first quarter. Let's go ahead and get up 6, 7, 8 points in the first and establish the tempo of the game and kind of take that heart from them, because that's what happened with the Prairie View team that was in here. They hung around in the first and kept it close, and they had a little confidence until we really got after them in the 12th and spread it. So same thing tonight. You got to look for just an early onset of dominance, or they're going to try to play us tough.
When you take a look at the last time Jackson State played Texas Southern, you talk about taking the heart away early. It was a 16-2 run in the first quarter that really set the margin of error in that game against Texas Southern. Jackson State, the last time they took on Texas Southern, they whooped them 68-44. Amisha Williams in that game, 23 points, 16 rebounds. And I tell you what, it is that dominance on the inside for the Lady Tigers that really carries them forward. Deja Woodard now asserting her dominance in the paint. But that's where I think Jackson State really has to really jump out on this Texas Southern basketball team, who has a couple of tough scorers in Adriana Avent, who's averaging 14 points per game, as well as Shalexis Aaron, also averaging 14 points a game. In fact, Miss Avent, 25 points for Texas Southern in their comeback win over Alcorn. Huge 12-6 run in the fourth quarter over Alcorn that netted them the victory on the road.
Yeah, Avent number 4, 5'11" guard. As a redshirt sophomore coming from New Mexico. So one of those players who is coming from a quote-unquote bigger school and has some skill sets that you don't typically see, traditionally in the recruiting base for these programs. But I think, Chuck, you hit it right on the head, that our inside dominance, that if we establish the game inside, James Naismith, rest in heaven, we see everything that Golden State is doing with the shooters, but basketball is going to always be about what happens around the peach basket.
There you go.
Most dominant, closest to the basket. And because we have those two dominant players emerging, one preseason conference defensive player of the year, still playing with the same energy. Now you got Woodward emerging. Chuck, I like our odds. I really like odds, because even if you're shooting and you got to drive to the basket, we got somebody that's going to meet you there, get the rebound, nice outlet pass, and we're gone. And you talked about that 16-2 run. It makes people change how they play the game. A lot of teams don't have that discipline to chip away at leads and be patient. They get in a hurry and try to three-point shoot their way out, which produces long rebounds and even more easier scores. Now it's a 28-2 run. So if we can establish that paint presence with our bigs, control the ball, control the tempo, get a couple of turnovers, could be another blowout tonight.
Yeah, it could be another blowout tonight, but this is a Texas Southern basketball team. They've scored 100 points in a game. They scored 100 points against Mississippi Valley State. But get this, they are 12th in the conference in terms of giving up points. They're almost giving up 80 points a game, 79.2 points per game, 12th in the conference. We can take advantage and get some fast break points, like you said, establish the tempo, things of that nature. It could be another blowout tonight.
And I know we're going to get into the men's games past and upcoming next, but one thing this Lady Tigers does not have is an issue scoring. And if you're a defense that wants to trade punches with us, trade basket with us, you're going to be in for a long night because we're not shy about scoring. You know, we have scorers on the floor. They're not shy for the game to flow through any one of the 5 people on the floor, be it a guard, a small forward, or one of the bigs. So with Texas Southern giving up so many points, and with us stymieing so many people point-wise, we play tough defense. We get points off turnovers. We take away possessions from them. You know, if we establish this first quarter and get out there strong, you could have a similar outcome of what you had Saturday night. But again, Cynthia Cooper is going to have her ladies ready to play.
Cynthia Cooper will definitely have her ladies ready to play. As we take a look at the clock, we are roughly
8:24.
8 minutes and 24 seconds from tip-off. Let's shift gears. Let's talk about the men now, as we got a huge conference win over Prairie View. Prairie View, always a very, very tough team with Coach Smith. But to get a win over a Prairie View A&M basketball team, that has to do huge for the Tigers in terms of their confidence going forward. They get that first SWAC conference win as they start off 0-3, but a big one Saturday night over Prairie View.
Yeah, I think the win for the confidence was bigger than the win for the conference. You know, the way this season fleshes out, you don't have to win every game, Chuck. You just need to be peaking mid to late February, peaking going into the tournament, and don't even worry about the seeding of the tournament. Just make your run then. It's all about winning that tournament. So starting off 0-3, your season is not over. But I want to go back before this past game where we got the first win, because the third loss was a confidence boost. We only lost by 1 point on the road. Only lost by 1 point on the road. And I think that confidence carried over to this second home game against Prairie View the other night, where we literally ran away with the game. The game was not as close as it appeared in the score, and it wasn't close in the score.
Yeah, it wasn't close in the score. 11-point win over Prairie View. You're talking about a 75-64 win over Prairie View. But T. Lou, big game for the Jackson State Tigers. 16 points, 7 rebounds, and Malachi Weidman. He got the start of this game, 12 points, 5 rebounds. But it's the energy that Weidman brought to that starting 5 that I thought was a little bit of a difference definitely in the game.
I agree, Chuck, and I think that also started the week before on the road during that Alabama swing where Malachi came up with 13 points, first game playing again for the Tigers, and a game that we lose by 1 point. He brings a lot of energy, and for guys just joining us, girls just joining us watching the pregame show, yes, Malachi Weidman is the football player, the receiver that led the conference in touchdowns, led the team in touchdowns, number 13 in football, number 15 for the Tigers basketball program. He is throwing alley-oops. He is catching alley-oops. He is crossing over spin cycle. He has been getting this crowd engaged and fired up, getting the bench engaged and fired up, bringing a totally different energy where this is not the same Tiger team that lost against Alcorn. This is not the same Tiger team that lost that first game in Alabama. This is a Tiger team that lost by 1 point on the second Alabama game, an 11-point win coming back to home. We're going to see if this carries over to a new rhythm, having this, because, Chuck, we talked about it before. We needed a guy. We had to have a guy. I think we got a guy. We got some juice now in Mal Weidman, number 15, that he's getting you double digits in points. But bigger than his points, I mean, he probably his first 2 3-point attempts missed them, you know, and then had an early foul. But his energy was needed more than those 2 made baskets. And the energy he brings, the excitement to this crowd, it is something special to behold. I'm looking forward to seeing it in action to make sure, hey, man, maybe is this a fluke? Are we really seeing a true emergence of the Tigers here? Is this what we can expect going into February, or was that just an anomaly? When you look at his first 2 games, giving the Tigers an extra 12 to 13 points per game, some extra assists, extra rebounding, extra defense, we're going to see what Johnny Jones is going to do to contain Mal Weidman tonight, because he's going to be all over the place.
Yeah, he's going to be all over the place. When you take a look back at Saturday night against Prairie View, Javis McKinnis, a little bit of foul trouble, efficient night, 6 points, 8 rebounds, but it was the Tiger bench that really stepped up in that game. You're talking about 34 points off the bench and led by Dylan Taylor, 14 points, huge off the bench for the Jackson State Tigers.
Yeah, huge effort, Chuck. I'm stepping to the side because both teams are out now warming up. The Texas Southern team is in what would be the South court, and the Lady Tigers are in what would be the North court, all out warming up. The officials are stretching and getting loose. We're about 4 minutes to tip off. Of course, we stay here, through player introductions. Crowd is coming in on this MLK afternoon. A lot of folks are used to the SWAC game on Monday starting at 5:30 versus 3 o'clock. Nice holiday, nice weather. So you can still get here. Lady Tigers tipping off at 3 and the Tigers tipping off at 5 p.m. But good excitement, good energy from the bench in that men's game that you were just mentioning. See how deep Coach Brent wants to go in those units. We had that dominance performance against Prairie View where we won, first SWAC conference win. And a lot of that was done with J-Mac on the bench, who got in early foul trouble.
Yeah.
Got in early foul trouble and had to sit down. So if you can get a Mal Wyman and a J-Mac on the court at the same time for some significant minutes, watch out SWAC. Watch out SWAC.
Yeah, watch out SWAC. Yeah, you talk about the bench. They really did a tremendous job Saturday night. When you take a look at Chance Moore, he also contributed 12 points and a few rebounds for the Tigers. But like I said, they were able to keep that energy, keep that juice, even with Javis not being on the court. But I tell you what, going forward today, you got a tough group of Texas Southern Tigers. You talk about Bryson Etienne. They lost this past Saturday to Alcorn, but they almost had a massive comeback in the second half. Bryson Etienne, 22 points. Jordan Carl Nicholas, he had a double-double, 11 points and 12 boards. They got another young man, P.J. Henry. He has 10 points and 2 steals. Formidable opponent in Texas Southern. Of course, they won the SWAC tournament last season. But I tell you what, they seem to get things really peaking toward the end of January as we get into February, and they normally start hitting on all cylinders once we get to March Madness.
And man, we look for those common opponents in the SWAC. And we talked about it a little while ago, and we were covering the Lady Tigers. Now we got data points. So you're getting teams that you saw play against a team that beat us. So you see Alcorn, who came in here, our home opener, conference opener, and handed it to us. And then you got a like opponent, got some time to look at what was done against each team and compare some things, come up with a game plan. Going to be interesting to see how Coach Brent and his staff keep that momentum going from that 1-point loss in Alabama to the 11-point win here at home, and see can you keep J-Mac out of foul trouble, get that basketball IQ back in SWAC, because it's different playing in January and February than it is in December. The games are called different. So it just is what it is. And so you got to stay out of foul trouble, because you can't really help your team and be the preseason defensive player of the year and you're on the bench. So we got to make sure we're managing those fouls, those early fouls, staying out of kind of trouble. But again, Chuck, if you get Mal Wyman on the floor the same time as you got a defender under the basket, a rebound under the basket like J-Mac, this team, when we score more than 60, we can score 80. Our problem is getting from 45 to 59. If we get to 60, we can handle some teams, because our defense can keep opponents 60 to 65, 65 to 68. We got to get that juice and get that extra 13 points, that extra 14 points. Let's play Moneyball. You remember that movie, Moneyball? Oh, yeah. We're not trying to replace Giambi. That's impossible. We got 3 guys that can replace Giambi. So we can spread those points around to 3 or 4 players, but we got to get 12, 13, 14 points extra from somewhere that we didn't get those first 2 games.
Go ahead, Billy B. Use the analytics. I like that.
Moneyball. Hey, Chuck, this is what we do, Chuck. This is what we do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, Chuck. So we are 20 seconds and the horn is going to sound. We're going to stick here so y'all can hear play introductions. So we got to go through the anthem first. But once they get ready to tip off, we want y'all to go over to the Tiger Sports Network to watch the game. But getting ready for player introductions and the national anthem. So, Chuck, when the anthem goes, you got that part, because I'll stay silent here in the arena.
No doubt about it as we get up on the anthem. But when we take a look at Saturday's game against Prairie View, one thing that sticks out is Jackson State was able, even without Javis McKinnis in the game, to out-rebound Prairie View, which I thought was huge. Jackson State out-rebounded Prairie View 33-24. Huge minutes, and we mentioned Terrence Lewis, 16 points, 7 rebounds in that game. Tremendous energy. He played 35 minutes, probably played a lot more minutes in that game versus with not having James McInnes out there on the court. Malachi Wyman, 28 minutes, 12 points and 5 rebounds. And like I said, an efficient night for J-Mac. Only 18 minutes on the floor, but 6 points and 8 rebounds. But it was the play of the bench of our Jackson State Tigers that was huge in that game. Dylan Taylor, 14 points off the bench, played 18 minutes. Chance Moore played 24 minutes. He had 12 points, contributed 3 rebounds. Darren Wilson, he also had a nice game, 6 points off the bench, played 12 minutes. And Darius Hicks got some nice playing time in terms of keeping Prairie View off the board. So a huge night for Jackson State bench. And when we take a look at this Texas Southern basketball team, as mentioned, they're coming off of a 1-point loss to Alcorn, falling short 73-72. They almost overcame a double-digit lead late, and they had chances down the stretch to get that upset over Alcorn. But they started off 4-0 in conference play, but they were led on the court by Bryson Etienne with 22 points. Jordan Call Nicholas, he had a double-double, 11 points, 12 boards. And then you had P.J. Henry for the Texas Southern Tigers. These are all names you're going to hear today. He had 10 points and 2 steals for the Texas Southern Tigers.
Well, look at that timing.
Perfect.
Look at that time. Oh, man, Chuck, I know you don't get paid, but I think you're a pro. You are a pro, Chuck. That went right to the end of the anthem. They are now introducing the visiting team, the ladies of Texas Southern, which we're going to talk over that. We could care less. But we will let y'all hear the starting lineup for the Lady Tigers when it gets to that. So we are still here. Gracious to President Hudson, who allows us to use his suite, if you will, for the pregame show. So just a second, we'll go to the Lady Tiger introductions, and we'll get ready to get out of here. I want y'all to go over to the Tiger Sport Network to watch the game.
Yes, indeed. As mentioned before, Jackson State comes into this game with the Texas Southern Lady Tigers. They're carrying a 4-game win streak over this Texas Southern Tiger basketball team. Last time they met in Houston, Jackson State big, 68-44. They were
Tiger shut.
Here they come.
And now the starting lineup for your Lady Tigers of Jackson State. A 6'1" junior from Houston, Texas, number 2, Maya Cross. A 6'3" junior from Oakville, Alabama, number 0, Deja Wooder. A 5'6" junior guard from Jackson, number 10, Kashana Luckett. A 5'4" senior from Bristly, number 24, Deja Rogan. And the 6'4" senior from Southport, number 4, Alicia Williams Holiday. Lady Tigers are coming by.
Chuck, that was the Lady Tigers introduction. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there, man. You got your starting 5. Deja Rogan, Alicia Williams Holiday, Deja Wooder, Kashana Luckett, all taking the court for our Jackson State Lady Tigers. 3 o'clock kickoff. Head on over to the Jackson State Sports Network where you can catch this action against the Texas Southern Tigers today. Neely, final words.
Final words, Lady Tigers. I think, again, if we establish that paint presence defensively and scoring, getting some defensive rebounds, offensive rebounds for second chance points, I think the Lady Tigers get out of here with a big victory. Men's game. Let's see what Mal Wyman can do if we can keep J-Mac on the floor. We're now looking if we score north of 60. If we score north of 60, that's going to be another W as well.
There it is for the pregame show here on the Black College Sports Network. Let's get ready for some exciting Jackson State basketball here on Martin Luther King Day. Until next time, it's Bishop, it's Neely, it's the pregame show. We're out of here.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the Pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the Pregame.